Hello and welcome, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the top 10 loudest Ark Tames because I thought it would be pretty funny. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now the Pteranodon kind of has to be here. Like, you might not think of the Pteranodon as a very loud tame, but if you have one of these creatures knocked out, you should see how loud their snoring is. Honestly, go try it, go out there, knock out a Pteranodon. They snore louder than any Ark creature in the game as far as I'm concerned, and it's also quite an annoying one as well, which, you know, does play to the benefit of them being quite loud creatures. And you can kind of say some of these creatures also are annoying in their own ways, but most of them aren't, whereas this one definitely is a bit more of a memey one, a bit more of a jokey one, because come on, the Pteranodon, it's here on this list because of just how loudly it snores when it tames. It's here as a bit of a joke, obviously, because it's not going to be like a Bronto or a Golem or a Titanosaur, those kind of creatures. But still, the Pteranodon definitely is a very, very loud snorer. Next up, we have got the Rock Drake, and come on, with a creature like this, you would expect it to be here, because if you have ever climbed around a surface on a Rock Drake, all you can hear is the clattering of its little claws over everything, and basically anything they do will be inherently noisy. There's not really any sneaking with these things whatsoever. The gliding obviously is noisy, just the general clattering of their claws on rocks are noisy, and just them landing and attacking, it's always constantly just the decibels are going flying when you're using one of these creatures. But it's definitely well worth it with a creature like this. They are insanely great creatures which can be found on Arbration. Not sure if they're on any other maps, to be honest, but you know, leave a comment down below if they are. I'm not talking about mod maps, I'm just talking about general official ones, because I'm pretty sure it's Arbration exclusive, and they're really well adverse to that map. Like, you can pretty much get anywhere with absolute ease on Arbration with a Rock Drake. Other maps, they do struggle a little bit because there's a lack of things for them to grip onto, but still, they really do work on their home map and they're designed for it, so you can't really blame the designer of this creature for that. These are truly great creatures, would definitely recommend one, but if you really don't like the continuous sound of claws clattering on rock, then maybe this quite isn't the tame for you. Next up, we have got the Carno, an all-time favourite of mine, but still, with a creature like this, their foot stomps are so loud considering their size. Like, even something like an aloe, I find they tend to be a little bit quieter, or at least to me. Maybe it's some kind of placebo making me feel like these things are even louder than they actually are, but who knows. But to me, they are very loud creatures. They are, that's probably what I meant there. You know, there's lots of different ways of saying the same thing, but you know, that was wrong. Either way, these creatures, if you ever heard them, foot stomps, they are very, very loud with it. Like, you might be like, oh my god, there's a Rex attacking my base or something like that, and then you just find it's one of these things. It's why you always obviously turn off that camera shake scale, as who even bothers to have that on anymore? Like, I know the camera shake scale is there for like effect, but with some big creatures in the game, it's really annoying. And even with some non-big creatures like the Carno, the camera is shaking around like crazy, and it's simply something which I do not need. Although these are creatures which I use quite a lot, and I definitely do like, and obviously they deal the bleed ability as well. Just, that's generally quite a nice thing to have. And on top of that as well, they deal quite hefty amounts of damage on top of said bleed ability. They're quite mobile, small, agile, nimble carnivores, so that does help them. And yeah, they're not particularly the best for stealth, considering just how loud their feet stomps actually are. In at number 7, we have got ourselves the Rex. This creature is here because it's a very large carnivore, and it definitely does have its big amount of foot stomping. You can't really demote it for said foot stomping. The Rex is a creature of great power, obviously, and considering its age, it makes sense why it is so loud. It's kind of one of the most powerful creatures of back in the day, but now you can get some bigger creatures that actually make a little bit less noise in this thing. But obviously the general trend is that they will make noise. The bigger they get, that's how things would work. And obviously this is another reason why you turn off that camera shake scale, because these things shake your screen like crazy, and you can actually see a Carno in the distance there briefly. You can just see some there, and you can see how much smaller a Carno is than a Rex, and it's actually kind of crazy how much noise the Carno gives off compared to the Rex. Like, honestly, it's concerning. What have they got in their feet? either way, the Rex, obviously a really great creature, capable of like boss fights and all of the above. Really does work effectively because of its high health, but also it deals loads of damage. Not the best swimmers, but I don't think you're going to be using it for swimming, unlike AI said in one of my later videos, when AI was like, yeah, these things are pretty good at swimming. I really don't think they are. They're actually some of the worst kind of odds of swimming out there, but you know, if you have to take them across some water, it's not going to be the most painful thing in the world, but not advised. Now, we've got the Kronosaurus, and this creature kind of did have to be here. Come on, this creature is of an immense size, and obviously with it, you're going to get a lot of noise. You can say the Giga kind of falls into this as well, although that is a little bit later in the list for a bit of a different reason in a way. I feel like it's just has more damage output, not damage output, sorry, noise output than this creature. Again, this thing just seems a little bit quieter, and maybe partly because I've spent less time with the Giga. But either way, just talking about this creature, we'll save that for later on in the video. These things are capable of a lot of noise, obviously. They're very big, and you kind of, so the Titanosaur is in not a similar boat to this thing, but you know, they're reasonably close if you compare the size of the two and how much noise they output. The Titanosaur isn't on this list, by the way, but I'll give it a brief mention here because I would probably put it around this spot. I haven't really spent too much time with them, so I've not got the biggest amount of accuracy, but they're not the loudest things out there as far as I'm concerned. But I might also chuck them in the number one spot with the creature I've got there. But you can probably tell where this creature deals a lot of noise output, if you can say, deals a lot of noise output. It's big, bulky carnivore, very useful, actually very cool to tame. You can find them all over Ragnarok. That's my recommended map for them. Definitely get one if you haven't already. In at number 5, we have got the Rock Golem, and this creature, again, it's pretty obvious why it's here. It's just a big hunking beast made out of rocks. It's obvious that this creature is going to output a lot of noise. It definitely is by no means a stealthy one, and that camera shake is going to be obscene as well. Obviously, I've got it turned off throughout all of this, and actually I'm not sure what kind of effect it has while you're riding a creature. I haven't really noticed, but it's mainly when you're off a creature and then there's just a big thing around, and then it's just going to be stomping all over the place, and it's obviously not going to be the best for you. But you know, they're very big noise outputters, but they're also very big damage outputters. You can just see how quickly it demolished that death worm there, which, you know, you've got to demolish them death worms on scorched earth because you can get mantis, and the mantis is a pretty decent creature, and also just killing death worms is generally fun. Do you like killing death worms? Comment that down below. Is that a thing you like? Is that a thing you don't like? Either way, very loud creatures, but for a very obvious reason. Now, next up on our list, we have got ourselves the Giga. Don't know what it is to me, but the Giga has always been much louder than the Kronosaurus to me. Just from my perspective of things, it's just a big hunking beast that really does output a lot of noise, and obviously a lot of shake as well. You definitely do know when there is a Giga about, and also their roars are pretty loud as well, so you've got to watch out for all of that too. And you know, with all of that, you're going to get loads and loads of noise output. But again, it does make sense. This thing is a massive beast of a carnivore. Now Rexes and Spinos and all those creatures look really tiny compared to it. It's like Carno to Rex, Rex up to that Giga. Like, it's insane actually how big carnivores even get in Ark, and it seems crazy that this is also still a 2015 creature. It was out within the first not even a year of the game being out. It's insane how long this thing has been in the game for. My brain is still struggling to comprehend everything, but it's very obvious why this thing makes all this noise. But it is a must-have tame for anyone out there, just purely because why not? And also just because, especially on Extinction, very useful for defeating the bosses, and obviously on PvP, they're pretty good creatures as well, although the Kronosaurus is better for that use, and for the bosses on Extinction, but you might as well tame them at some point if you haven't already, but I'm sure most of you have. In at number 3, we have got ourselves the Reaper, and their roar is so tremendously loud. I did have to put it in here, and also they're quite a bit of a stomper as well. It makes sense, they are of such high status on Arbration, they really do deserve to make a lot of noise in a way, in some cases, like a creature that makes loads of noise, it shows that it is a big, powerful, beefy creature. In some cases also it's just really a general annoyance with creatures like the Carno, and a creature that's slightly later on in the list. It number one spot actually. It makes sense, but it's not really the big beefy powerhouse that something like a Reaper is. But if you've ever still got your volume on the default settings in Ark and you're fighting with one of these things, you're going to get a lot of noise coming through your speakers or headphones or earbuds, whatever you're using to output said sound to you. Or if you just have your TV or whatever on mute, the sound is still definitely going to emerge through all of that. You're just going to hear so much from these creatures. It really sounds like so many things are dying, even including your creature, but I assure you, your Reaper will be fine, because these things are absolute tanks. Definitely should tame them at some point, especially on Arbration, because it's a lot more of an experience, but you can do it on Gen 2 as well, and it's an absolute cheese. So if you're a beginner, maybe do that, or play through Arbration and get that experience of taming a Reaper through Arbration, because it's so much more satisfying, because it's a lot more difficult. In at the number 2 spot, we have got ourselves the Astrocetus, and it is definitely deserving of this, but it makes good sense as well. It is a massive, large, hunking beast of a creature, and when you close its mouth like that, you're going to get a lot of noise, and obviously its tail swish as well really is loud, but it's moving a heck of a lot of air, so it does make sense. But when you're in space, maybe not so much, because it's a vacuum, so sound can't travel. But anyway, we don't need to fact check all of it. Maybe space is not a vacuum in Ark. Maybe there are particles everywhere and sound can travel through it. Who knows, you know, it's not our own universe really, although the map of extinction is kind of supposed to be Earth, but we'll get around that. Maybe times are different. Physics has changed, physics has evolved, you know, but these are definitely really loud creatures. Makes sense, very obvious, and I'm sure everyone does know this by now. And at number 1, we've got the Bronto, and I guess I'll also put the Titanosaur here actually instead of where the Kronosaurus was. They fit under the same boat. These aren't particularly powerful creatures, but they are very large ones, and I don't really know why. To me, they seem like the absolute loudest creatures in the game, and also maybe quite an annoying one as well, with them just stomping all over the place. And if you have that camera shake on, your screen is going to be shaking like crazy. You can't see anything, and they're just so loud, and for some reason so continuous, and they'll just walk all over your bases for no reason, unless you have turrets, of course. Then they'll be dead soon, hopefully, but they are pretty tanky, so it will take a bit, which is why I just really try and not build a base in a Bronto. If I'm just building a base and then there's a Bronto in the area, I'm like, time to move. The Bronto cannot be near the base, I'm sorry. But then if a Bronto does spawn near the base later on, then that's just a shame, and the first thing I'll probably do is kill the Bronto, or maybe the Titanosaur, but they tend to not be as annoying because they're a lot rarer. But anyway, that is the end of today's video, and I really hope that you've all enjoyed, as I definitely enjoyed making it. As always, comment down below what is the loudest Ark Tame to you, and if you don't agree with this list, put your 10 loudest Ark Tames down in the comments, and I'll see you all later.